All right, welcome back, everybody. It's so wonderful to be here. Thinking Talmudist this beautiful Friday afternoon. We're on a new piece of Talmud, 83b, in Tractate Bava Metzia, 83b, towards the top of the page. So the Gemara is going to give now a very lengthy discussion, very lengthy sequence of agadic expositions and narratives. And we're going to start with the first of these, of this whole. You'll see for many, many weeks we'll be discussing these pieces of Talmud one after the other. So Dorosh Rav Zera expounded the Amri law Tani Rabbi Yosef, and some say that Rabbi Yosef taught it in a brisa. What is it? What is meant by that is written? Toshes choshech vayhi laila, bo tirmos kol chayso yar. You make darkness and it is night. In it, every forest beast stirs. What does that mean? Where's this verse from? This verse is from Psalms 104. And then so what's the explanation for this verse? He says it's referring to this world which is compared to the night. Why is this world compared to a night? We'll see shortly. Bo tirmos kol chayiso yar. In it, every forest beast stirs. This is referring to Elu harishayim shebo shedomim l'chaya shebayar. This refers to the wicked in this world who are compared to the beast in the forest. Tizrach hashemesh ye'osefun ve'el me'onosam yirbatzun. The sun shines, they are gathered in. Sun shines, and in their dens they crouch. What is this referring to? Tizrach hashemesh latzadikim. The sun shines for the righteous in the next world. Yeosefun rishon legehenim. They, the wicked, are gathered to Gehenna. Ve'alma onosam yirbatzun. What is that referring to? And in the dens they crouch. Ein lecha kol tzadik v'tzadik she'ein lo modor lefi chvodo. You will not find a single righteous person without lodgings befitting his eminence. Yetze adam lefalo, man goes forth to his work. Yetzu tzadikim lekabos chorim, and the righteous go forth to receive their reward. Va'avodaso adei arev, and to his labor until evening. B'mi shehishlim avodaso adei arev, if he has completed his service to God until evening, the day of his death, meaning evening is considered the day of a person's death. Okay, so let's understand a little bit here, just from this little piece of Talmud, of what is day, what is night. Right? We think day is this world, night is when we die. Wrong. Night is why? Because look at the world around us, and most of the world is like a blind person at night trying to feel around, what is the right thing for me to be doing? People have confusion. But in the world to come, where everything is clear as day, we're at that point, the person's like, oh my, this was so obvious. What didn't I get? What didn't I understand? That's day. Okay, over here is night. Over here is night. But also, here is also day. Why is here also day? Because this is where we get things done. In this world is the only place we can get things done. We can't do acts of kindness after we die. It's too late. You can't visit the sick once you die. The majority of the mitzvahs you can't fulfill once a person passes away. Now, charity, many people leave a legacy, and that is given after they pass away. Fine. But that's still something that is perhaps a reward given when they're still alive. But that we have to understand that the way the world sees humanity is very different many times from how the world sees humanity and how we see the world. So now the Gemara relates an incident which makes reference to the verse that we just explained. Right? Just by the way, the Talmud, the Rashi says, a wild animal is at liberty to roam the forest and conduct itself as beasts do. Similarly, the wicked are allowed to continue their evil ways while no retribution is necessarily visited upon them in this world. Sometimes we look at people like, how come these people aren't locked up? Right? How come they're not punished? How come there's no retribution? How come they don't go to prison? And they just get out every time. An example that could be on our mind would be perhaps OJ. I don't think there's anybody who thinks that he's innocent. The only reason the courts ruled him innocent, well, they didn't say he was innocent, they just acquitted him because the court didn't have enough evidence for them to provide the punishment. But such a situation would ask the question, how is it possible that this guy's not getting punished? He's scot-free, walking around like anybody else. Where's his punishment? Sometimes that punishment's like the beasts at night, right? They're in this world, they can just go without retribution. In this world, everything is saved for the world to come. It says that the righteous, if you remember, several weeks ago we discussed how the righteous get punishment in this world. They get affliction in this world. Why? Because in the world to come, they don't have any punishment. They got it all here. There were some sages who felt and prayed that they wanted affliction in this world because they were afraid. They didn't want to take away any of the pleasure and any of the joy and any of the reward of the world to come. So they prayed and asked, Hashem, if there's any punishment that's due in the world to come, please give it to me now. Don't let it take away from my pleasure in the world to come, which is the ultimate pleasure, which is the eternal pleasure. So now the Gemara relates the incident. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Ashkach, Lahu, Parhigavna. Rav Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, came across a certain marshal, Dikotofis Ganvi, who was commissioned by the king to investigate and arrest thieves. Amar le, Rav Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, said to him, Heichi yochlat lehu. How do you manage to prevail over them? Lav kichevasa mitile dichsiv. Are they not likened to beasts, as it is written, Bo tirmos kol chayis. This is the verse that we just brought. In it, every forest beast stirs. And what he says that since they are wily like beasts who hide in their lairs during the day, how do you manage to apprehend them? How do you get these thieves? How do you catch them? The Gemara records a variant tradition. Ika de Amri mehai kro ka amarle. Some say that Rabbi Lazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, expressed this point to him from a different verse. Ye'erov b'mistor ke'aryeh b'sukkah. He lurks in hiding like a lion in his lair. So he's saying these thieves are hiding. How are you going to get them? It's almost a question that ICE might be asking, or any law enforcement would be asking. How do you find the criminals? So Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, continued, Dilma shoklas tzadike v'shavkes rishie. Perhaps you are mistakenly apprehending the innocent and leaving the guilty behind. How do you know that you're catching the guilty? Amar le, the marshal replied to him, Umay avid, but what can I do? Harmona de malkahu. It is the king's order. Therefore, I have to arrest someone. Meaning, there's a certain quota that I need to meet, and therefore I'm going to catch who I catch, and that's who it is, finished. But that's not fair. How can you punish those who are innocent? Omar, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, said to him, Ta agmoroch heichi tevet. He says, come, I'm going to teach you how to proceed. I'm going to teach you how to do this properly. O ba'arba shoi lechanusa. On the 4th hour of the day, enter into a diner. Ki chazis inish de koshasi chamra. When you see people drinking wine, fourth hours is early in the day, and you see people drinking wine, konokit kasa biyode v'komen namnem, and he holds a cup in his hand while dozing off, she'oil ilove, inquire about him. Itzu v'marabonon hu v'nayim, if he's a young rabbinical scholar and he dozes, akdume kodem legirsaya, you can assume that he awoke early before dawn and on behalf to study Torah, and is thus falling asleep now. And if he's a day laborer, kadim ka'avid avidite, he was probably early to work. Via avidite belele. Furthermore, even if they tell you that he's a craftsman and he worked at night, but you regard this as suspicious because his house is silent at night, right? Still, don't arrest him. Rudude radet. He may be lengthening metal wires, which doesn't make noise, and it's a quiet craft. V'ilo, and if the person dozing off is not one of these, just know, ganavhu v'tafse. Just know it's safe to deduce that he is a thief, and you should arrest him. Ishtama milsa bemalka. This matter, what Rebbe Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, his advice was heard in the palace. Amru, and they declared, Kraino karyona di igarto ihu leheve parvanko. Let the reader of the letter be the deliverer, meaning, let Rebbe Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, be the one who puts to put his own advice into practice. Meaning, he has the whole methodology. Let him put it into action. I see Yuha Rebbe Elazar Rebbe Shimon, and they brought Rebbe Elazar ben Shimon. They took him and they authorized him v'kotofis ganvi v'azil, and he set about arresting the thieves. Okay, so he would catch the thieves and he'd throw them into the king's prison. All right, who likes this? Very difficult, very, very big problem. We'll see in a minute. Okay, he got a lot of criticism for this. Rebbe Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, was criticized. Shalach le Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, Rishum bar Korcha sent a message to him. He says, Chometz ben Yain, vinegar, the son of wine, is what they called him. You're vinegar, the son of wine. Why? Who was his father? His father was the great Reb Shimon. His wine, the finest wine. He says, what came of you? You became vinegar. You became spoiled. You became rotten. Look what came of you. You're now throwing people into prison. That's not what we do. Ad mosata moser amo shel Elohenu lahariga. How long will you hand over the people of our God to their execution? This is not a Jewish trade to become the executioner. Shalach le Rebbe Elazar, the son of Rebbe Shimon, sent back to him, Kotzim ani mechale min hakerem. He says, no. I'm getting rid of the thorns from the vineyard. Meaning, I'm taking away the evil people. I'm getting rid of them. Shalach le Rebbe Shimon Kocha sent back a message. He says, Yavo bala kerem v'ichala es kotzav. He says, let the master of the vineyard come and get rid of his own thorns. Okay? He should do it himself. He doesn't need your help. Nevertheless, Rebbe Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, continued his efforts. So we see here that the rabbis were not really crazy about seeing a Jewish executioner, definitely not someone who was going to be the policeman of the community, right? He's going to be the one catching the thieves. Why is this so? Why is this something that's not really looked at in a positive light, right? So there's a number of things here. You know, it says here that he's we have this metaphor of a vineyard. He says, I'm ridding the Jewish people of its evildoers. The metaphor of a vineyard is based on the verse in Isaiah, for the vineyard of Hashem of hosts is the house of Israel. The question presents itself, why was Rebbe Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, permitted to hand fellow Jews over to their execution? there is no penalty of death for stealing. So someone who steals doesn't get put to death. Here, they were getting put to death. So what's the idea? He says, furthermore, he did so without any witnesses and without even finding them guilty in a Jewish court. Right? So here this is a big problem, because what do we know? What did we discuss so many times? In a Jewish court, there's no way to punish someone without witnesses. You catch a thief, you can't execute somebody for that. You can't punish them if you don't have witnesses. So today we use circumstantial evidence. Today we use the witnesses of the police getting testimony. You can see that we're able to make certain um, judgments based on what we see. But we also, okay, so if you want, we'll just continue a little bit here in the commentary. The Rashba and the Rivash both state in their responsa that Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon's actions were an example of an extraordinary powers of leading of a leading rabbi who may exercise under extraordinary circumstances. If crime is so rampant that it threatens to cause a breakdown of society, the leading rabbis and courts are empowered to use all means necessary to repair the breach. So if everyone is breaking into cars, it's just nuts what's going on. So then they do have the powers to do so. This is true all the more so when they are authorized to take such measures by the secular government. So when the king is asking, we need your help to get these thugs off the streets, then it is permissible for them to do this. Either way, we can get it. We're going to probably talk about this a little bit later. Further, the Talmud continues now. Nevertheless, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, continued his efforts. Yom Echad, one day, Pagabeahu Koves, a certain laundryman encountered Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, Karye Chometz ben Yain, and he called him vinegar, the son of wine. Amar Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, said to him, Midechotzif kule hai, since this laundryman is singularly contemptuous, meaning he's got chutzpah, disrespect. You're calling Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, who was a great, great, great scholar, you're calling him the vinegar, the son of the wine? Okay, if one of the sages said that, fine. But the laundryman, the guy who does Shma Mino Rishiehu, one may deduce that he is a wicked person, referring to Rabbi Shua ben Korcha, who we mentioned previously, who addressed him in this way, is calling Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, the vinegar, the son of wine. So he wasn't a wicked person, and he was of the stature that he could call him that. As the Gemara makes clear below, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, was a student of Rabbi Shua ben Korcha. And thus, a rebuke from a teacher to a student, even a sharply worded one, was entirely appropriate. But to the laundryman, however, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, who was one of the leading rabbinical authorities of his time, and thus someone he was obliged to respect, his scornful name-calling was therefore inexcusable. So now the Talmud continues, and the Talmud says, Shma Mino Rishiyahu, we can deduce that this laundryman was a wicked person. Amar Lahu, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, said to his deputies, Tafsu, arrest him. Tafsu, they indeed arrested him. Levasar denoch date, after his mind was once again at ease, Ozol basre lifruke. He went over to the laundryman to redeem him from his impending execution. V'lo matzi, but he was unable to do so. Kara alei Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, pronounced this verse on the laundryman: Shomer piv v'lashono, shomer mitzoras nafsho. One who guards his mouth and tongue guards his soul from tribulations. And then zikafu, they hung the laundryman. So he wasn't able to get him out. we see here, this is just an interesting thing here, that there is you know, let's step back for a second, okay? We're looking now, you look in the news now, every single day you see different stories, these files and these people and this scandal and that crime and that. It's amazing what we see going on in the world today in the news. Every day is like a whole, a year of news that you would have had in an ordinary year. Every day there's new breaking news. Every minute it's unreal. And many people are calling for certain people to be punished. This person should be arrested, and this one should be, for treason. And you see all these stories, and it really is phenomenal to see this because, again, as we said, in a Jewish court, most of this would be thrown out. Most of this, not all, but most. But we have to understand something: is who gives anyone the right to execute someone, to execute punishment, not death. Well, death is even more of a question. But who gives you the right? So we have to understand that as a society, as a culture, we understand that there are people who do evil things, and therefore we employ police, and we have a government that represents us as people, and we decide, we have by a set of laws how and when these laws should be played out in the court of law and played out in the court of the public eye. Now, that's not always the case. You don't always have the right, because something is right or wrong, that someone does, even if they admit that they did something. They admit their own guilt. I'm sure that Bruce will give us the legal term for this, but sometimes their own admittance will take away the punishment that they are bringing themselves into. Okay, so the Rebbe Elazar, now the son of Reb Shimon, reacts to what happened here, that they hung this laundryman who was disrespectful to him. Come to say Zekife v'kabachi. He stood under the gallows and cried. This is Reb Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, stood beneath the gallows and cried. Amar lei, they said to him, Rebbe, al yera beinecha, teacher, do not be troubled. Shuhu uvno balu naramo rasa b'yom kippurim. Just know that this laundryman wasn't just a laundryman, okay? Him and his son cohabitated with a betrothed nara, a betrothed woman, an engaged woman, on Yom Kippur. So first is it's one of the prohibitions of Yom Kippur. Second is she belongs to another man. Therefore, he is indeed deserving of this punishment. So cohabitation with a betrothed nara is a capital offense punishable by stoning. Since all persons executed by stoning are hung afterward, it is appropriate that this laundryman was killed by hanging. So it turns out that the punishment that was given by mistake, and Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, was so saddened about, it turned out that it was the hand of God that made it happen, because he was indeed responsible. He was indeed culpable to such punishment because of a different sin that he did. Hiniach yado al bnei me'av. Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, rested his hands on his stomach. Amar sisu bnei me'ai sisu. He said, rejoice, my insides rejoice. Uma sfikois shalochem kach. He says, if your uncertain judgments are thus just, vadois shalochem al achas kama vekama. Then your certain judgment, the one that you're for sure certain about, all the more so. Meaning as follows. This was a case that was by mistake and ended up to be for the right purpose, for the right punishment, and everything was just. He says, if your mistake was just, the ones that go through the entire legal process and you, in fact, execute, in such case will also be always correct. Okay, Muftachani bachem, he says, I am confident in you, meaning my insides, shein rima v'talea sholetas bochem, that no maggots and no worm will ever prevail over you. But despite this, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon's conscience did not put were not put to rest. Okay, so what happened? V'afilu hachi lo misyasva date. He wasn't calm about this. He wasn't comfortable that this was the result of that individual and his punishment. So now Rabbi Elazar, the son of Reb Shimon, tries to determine if he acted wrongfully. So here again, what happened? This person was disrespectful to Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon, didn't sit well with him, so he threw him in prison, and he was executed. He was hung. He felt terrible about it. Oh, I can't believe I did such a thing. I can't believe it was a mistake. Turns out that it wasn't a mistake because of the sin that this person and his son did, that it was indeed deserving of this. Still, he was uncomfortable that such a thing happened on his watch. Ashkiyuhu sama deshenasa. They had him drink an anesthetic potion. An anesthetic potion. Ve'ailu lebesa deshisha. And they brought him into a marble room. V'karu likrese. And they surgically incised the skin of his abdomen. Havu mafku mine. They removed from him during this operation dikule visarba, baskets and baskets of fat. Umosve bishimsha betamuz ve'ov. And they placed these fats. They did you think these new surgeries that they have now, these that they remove the fat, right? That's not a new thing. What are they? I don't know what they're called. I don't remember what they're called, but those surgeries they did back then. Today people go to Mexico and they have this special, surgery that they remove the fat. This was something they did. Apparently, Rebbe Lazar, the son of Reb Shimon, was a very large fellow, and he was overweight, and they did the surgery, and they took this fat and they put it in the sun in the hot summer months of Tammuz and Av, to see what would become, that they would become, if they would become wormy. Velo masruche, and they did not rot. They did not rot. See, he's over here. The commentaries say that our sages were so careful and so cautious and so delicate, not delicate, but so sensitive, that they would worry about the harm they have caused others, even when they were obliged to do so. Meaning, okay, this is what the Torah says the punishment should be, but still they were so pained by what they needed to do. Okay, Rabbi Elazar ben Reb Shimon, the son of Reb Shimon, was extremely obese, and they did this surgery. They removed the fat from his belly and they put it out in the sun to see it become wormy and rotten, and it didn't. What was this telling of? We'll see. The Gemara interrupts to question this point. Kol tarba nami lo sarich. He says, what does this prove? All fats do not rot as well. Not all fats rot, and not all fats cause them to become. You put them out in the sun, it doesn't mean it's going to become wormy. The Gemara answers, "Kol tar below sarich." He says it is true that all fats do not rot, but shuraiki sumki masriach. He said sanguineous membranes do rot. Hocha, here, in this case, afagav diisa shuraiki sumaki lo masriach. He says, even though it was sanguineous membranes present in the fat, nevertheless they did not rot. Kari Anafshe, the Gemara continues, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, quoted this verse about himself. Af bisari yishkon levetach. This is a verse in Psalms. Even my flesh will rest securely. And he was calming himself down that, you know what, I did the right thing, that even my flesh will rest securely because this was the will of Hashem. The Gemara records a related incident. V'af Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi Mata. And so too with Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, there once came his way a similar experience. Similar story happened to him as well. That is, the king appointed him as a marshal, and he was obliged to arrest thieves and highwaymen. Elijah the prophet encountered him. Amarle, Elijah said to him, Ad mosai ata moser amo shel Eloheinu lahariga. Until when will you hand over the people of your God to their execution? Amarle, Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, replied to him, My Avid, what can I do? Harmona de Malkahu, this is the king's order. Amarle, Elijah said to him, Avuch Arak la'asya. Your father fled to Asia or Asya. At arok ludkiya. You should flee to Ludkiya. He ran away. You run away. The king gave you an order, but you can't fulfill such an order. Why are you putting your fellow people into prison? So the Gemara digresses to discuss Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi. Kihavu miklal Rabbi Shmuel b'Rabbi Yossi, b'Rabbi Elazar, b'Rabbi Shimon b'Hadei. When Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, would encounter each other, and they stood face to face with their midriffs touching. Hava'ayil bakre litore binayu. A pair of cattle could pass between them, underneath them, below havi nagabuhu, and not even touch them. Amraluhu hahi matranuso. A certain noble woman once told them, B'nechem einam shalochem. Your children are not yours. You are both so obese that it is impossible for you to have relations with your wives. Amruleh, they said to her, Amrullah, shalohen gadol mishalanu. Their stomachs are even bigger than ours. Kol shekain. Then the noblewoman responded, what I said is true all the more so. Ika de amri hachi amrullah. And there are different traditions as to what they said. Some say that what they really told her, kicha ish gvurasai. For as a man, so is his might. Ika de amri hachi amrullah. And some say that love drives back the flesh. And therefore they were able to cohabitate and have children. The Gemara questions their remarks. Why did they even respond? Why did they respond? They should have ignored her. Doesn't it say altan ksil kivalto? Do not answer a fool. Don't answer a fool according to his folly. What are you even paying attention to this woman and her comments? Why are you giving her attention? So the Gemara answers, Shalolahotzi laz al b'neihem. They responded only so that no one create rumors about their children. That would be a terrible thing, and it would do tremendous damage. And therefore, they responded with ordinarily they wouldn't. The Gemara compares various sages. Rabbi Yochanan said, Avre de Rabbi Yishmael b'Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi's organ, kechemes shel tisha kabin, was the size of 9 kav canteen. Okay, so Amar of Papa said, Avre de Rabbi Yochanan's organ, kechemas bas chameshes kabin, was the size of a 5 kav canteen. Amri Lo, and others say that it was the size of a 3 kav canteen. Bas shloshas kabin, the Rav Papa Gufe, that of Rav Papa himself, ki dekure bahar panai, was the size of a Harpinian basket. I don't understand what the Gemara is talking about. That to just explain that there was no barrier limiting them from having relations with their spouse and uh, making it possible for them to have children. And therefore, this was a sign that they did have children. They did, but I don't know why it happens to be these two individuals were obese. The Gemara here records that. I don't understand what that is. Obviously, everybody has their own health things that need to be of top concern so that we can live a healthy life. But I think what the interesting part here in the Gemara is that in this Talmud is that you see an amazing sensitivity that our sages had, notwithstanding that they were the executioners for the king, that they were always so concerned. Perhaps they were doing something wrong. Perhaps they were doing something that was incongruent with, or perhaps someone got punished that shouldn't have been punished. Imagine if our judges, if our lawyers, if our prosecutors would think twice. Many times, and I've spoken to federal prosecutors. A friend of mine was a federal prosecutor, and he's like, I don't even know if he even looks back. It's like, just get them off the streets. They're evil people. They're good people and bad people. And good people we don't bother. Bad people we just want to. They don't even think twice about it. And I think the Torah teaches us that we need to have a sensitivity, right? Yeah, it could be that you need to follow the law, and this is what you need to do. For example, today there's a lot of talk about illegal immigrants, and you have ICE and taking them, sending them to their countries, and sometimes we can say, yes, this is the law, and this is what needs to be done. But also, we see over here in the Gemara, you need to have a little bit of a sensitivity. Not that you're doing the wrong thing per se, but perhaps maybe there should be a little bit of a pain, a little tinge in the heart that tells us, something. They had a family, they have children, they have a spouse. We're tearing their family apart, and even though it was the right thing, and we did the right thing, but we should have a little bit of a sensitivity for that. Not to be a cold-hearted person saying, well, he's an illegal immigrant, get him out. Right? Notwithstanding, right? Yes, it could be that by the letter of the law, but by the spirit of the law, we should have a sensitivity. We see this many, many times on Shabbos. There's the letter of the law and there's the spirit of the law. Right? The Torah tells us this is how you should conduct yourself. Okay, so I'll be within those guidelines. But then there's the spirit of the law of doing it in the right way, with the right attitude, and having the right sensitivity towards it. So it's not only following the letter of the law. Yeah, we got to get the criminals out. They came, the illegal, undocumented, whatever they may be. But still to have a heart. Still to have a heart. And that's, I think, something that we need to appreciate, that our sages, notwithstanding that they were busy every day getting bad people off the streets, they still had a tremendous sensitivity and concern. Perhaps, maybe, this person was innocent. Not to second guess, but to have a little bit of, okay, it turned out that it was for the right reason, right? In the case that was brought here in the Talmud, it turns out this was very called for, and because of another matter, not the matter in which he thought that the person was guilty. For a different reason, he was guilty. It turned out that it worked out okay. But still, when we punish a person, this, by the way, should be with our children as well. If you punish your child, first is be very, very careful about punishments with children, because they usually backfire in a very, very negative way. My grandfather always said, do whatever you can to not get to that point. Do whatever you can to avoid getting to a point where you're punishing your child. Punishment is last resort with your children. and in school as well. My grandfather was once, many, many times, people would come on a daily basis. People would come to his house and ask him questions, big questions on education, schooling, parent issues. Many, many, many questions would come to him. And he said that one time, a rabbi, a newly employed rabbi, just got a job in a school, and he wanted to know at what point can he punish his students. My grandfather said, "What school do you teach in?" He says, "Very nice. Who's the head of the school?" "Very nice. And what grade are you teaching?" And he got all the information. He says, "Listen, you know, you should limit any type of punishment. That you shouldn't run first resort to punishment." As soon as the man left, my grandfather called the head of the school. He says, "Fire this teacher. This teacher, all he cares about is power and how he can punish. That's not an educator. That's not an educator. That'll do terrible damage to the children. Terrible damage." A person needs to be so careful. It should be the absolute last resort for us to punish a child, right? Okay, but once it is done, a person can still evaluate. You know what? Maybe it was wrong. Maybe I need to apologize to my child. Maybe you're short with your child. You yell at your child, whatever it may be. Hopefully, never anything physical, right? But you're harsh with your child, even if it's a lack of patience. The child runs to the room. Why? Why did they're hurt? Go and talk to them. Go and apologize if necessary. I've done this many times where, for no good reason, I may have um, you know been impatient with my child. My child gets offended, gets hurt, and goes to his room and is crying, or and I believe every single time that happened, I've gone to my children and I said, "I'm sorry. It's not your fault. I had a difficult day. I had a long day. I was tired. I was hungry. You can blame it on whatever it is. Doesn't make a difference. I'm sorry. And I'm going to make it up to you. And we can make mistakes, and we have to look, notwithstanding the fact that we did. And sometimes, yes, we've gone through all of the evidence, we've gone through all of the things. Fine. So you did still have feeling, have emotion for what is being done to someone else. All right, because it's not so simple that the Almighty gives us permission to just execute a punishment on another person. All right, so we have to be very, very careful about that. Next week, God willing, the Gemara is going to continue to a different topic, about talking about the beauty of the people of Jerusalem, the beauty of the people of Jerusalem. And I look forward to continuing that next week on 84a in Tractate Bava Metzia. So, my dear friends, thank you so much. Have a magnificent Shabbos. If you're still on the live stream or on the podcast, please like, share, and follow our channel so that we can continue to spread the word of Torah to more and more people. Thank you, and have an amazing Shabbos.